we want to start off with a song? Yeah. So thank you all for coming this afternoon during this point for the quarterly business meeting. We're here to do reports to staff, talk about a few issues, and again, thank you all for coming. And I hope you all enjoyed the chance to just catch up with each other. I mean, there's a lot of value in that, just being able to sit around the tables and catch up with each other. So I really appreciate that. Why don't you open us up here with prayer first? You're the first on the agenda.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for friends. Thank you for our church family. Thanks for the opportunity to gather and to do the business of the church. So we commit this next 20 minutes to you and ask that you would be in our presence. Amen.
It would be nice. I told Drew he has to keep this report under 30 minutes, so we'll see. The next item on the agenda we had is review and approval of the December 4th minutes. Unfortunately, as Nate tells me, Drew screwed it up and didn't print everything off here. So we'll take care of that at the next business meeting. So we are going to start off with reports from our staff. And so I'm going to invite Kurt to come right back up and give a report. Thank you.
I was praying for my 20-minute report. This is really great, actually, to see all of you here, because sometimes, as you know, business meetings are the most exciting thing to come to, but it just indicates that you care about what's going on in the life of the church. So thank you for being here. I just have a couple of things that I want to update you on, and then I want to end by giving you some words of encouragement that I shared with our leadership at our retreat in April. As you know, I was away for a period of time, and I know you're dying to know what we did while we were away. I can't remember. No, it was kind of strange. Somebody asked me, have you ever been away for more than 2 or 3 weeks? I never had. I don't think I've ever taken 3 weeks of vacation. So about 4 weeks into my leave, I started thinking, how am I going to do this? I mean, we were in Florida for part of it, but we came home right in the middle of February when we had our only snow and ice storm. We got home before that, and then we left again, and then came back before Easter. And what I would say about the time away, it really was a good time of reflection for me to think about the past 6.5 years that I've been here at the church as the pastor. It was a time to think and to talk about what may be next. I had some of my colleagues ask me when I came back, so what's the plan? And I said, I have no plan. And I don't, honestly, I don't know what's next. I mean, people have asked, well, will you guys stay in Illinois? Will you move back out west? The answer to that is no, we won't move back out west. This has become our home, and we actually like living here. And believe it or not, Illinois is not a bad place to live. We were on a flight coming back from my daughter's graduation, and we sat next to a lady. Her and her husband had lived in Portland, or in Oregon, for about 30-some years, I think. And they had just recently moved to Illinois, and they were living out in Huntley at Del Webb. And she said, we are so excited to leave Oregon and come to Illinois. And I said, you're the first person that I've ever heard say that, because a lot of people are leaving Illinois. But I think, well, we don't know that. Anyway, it's good to be here. So the time away accomplished, I believe, what we intended to accomplish, which was to give Pete the opportunity to lead and lead the staff and various other opportunities without me around. And from what I understand, he was still here when I came back. The building was still standing. The staff was still intact. We processed that time away as a leadership team, and it was all very positive. And so I think it accomplished some things. Saying that, a word or two about this transition that we're in. We're now closing in on the end of year 2, and the plan is that a year from August, I will be gone. And there's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and then, but we continue to talk about the future. And one of the things that Pete and I are doing is that when I came back from my leave, there are certain things that he did while I was away, a lot of things that he did, and I want him to continue to do a few of those things. So for example, one of the things that we've done is there's a lot of pastoral care that needs to be done in our church. So we've sort of divided that up. So he's continuing to do some of that, preaching, some more administrative kinds of things, and just little by little stepping into this role. And I'm doing my best to try to encourage him and the staff along the way. So I think it's going well. Pete will probably say a few things about that. Hopefully you think it's going well too. I want to say a word about Sarah. Not to put you on the spot, but we are really grateful to have you on staff. And we were fortunate, the timing of everything, to bring you on. And so thanks for saying yes. You're a huge blessing to our church and to our families and to our children. Yeah. I first heard about Sarah from our friend Pete Showbloom. And he said, you know, she may be leaving Deer Grove at some point. You need to get her. It's like, is that how that works? Okay. So anyway, here she is, and we're glad she's here. One other thing, some of you have been in the choir, and I want to say a word about that. As you know, Mike Nelson retired. Well, I mean, he retired from choir directing, and he still has a few years of teaching. But there's been questions about, well, where are we going with the choir? At this point, we don't have any plans to hire a choir director, but what we would really like to see is a seasonal choir or an occasional choir where we would sing 4 or 5 times during the year. As some of you have said, it's been really helpful on a Sunday morning to have the choir up front leading as we sing, because it really adds, right? Kelly's up there, amen, brother. Yeah. No, and we realize that, so I just want you to know, we aren't just saying, okay, well, Mike's gone, choir's over, we're not going to address it. We're trying to figure out what makes sense. We have people that could certainly lead a seasonal choir. Lois. This is Lois. Lois doesn't remember how to read music, so. No, so I just wanted you to know that, because there's been some questions about that. And we also want to honor the choir. And we're going to do that on a Sunday morning. And we'll let you know, because we want to say thank you to all of you that have sung and have been so faithful over the years, and what a blessing, you know, it's been. And it's not easy. I was at the meeting the night that Mike announced that he was leaving, and there were a few sighs of relief, not because of Mike, and there were tears. But there were people, I think, who felt like, you know, this has been a huge commitment, but I think overall, all of you just really loved being a part of the choir. So thank you. We'll say more. Now, a couple of words of encouragement. At the, well, I guess those were encouraging words, but at our leadership retreat at North Park Seminary in April, and Pete will kind of talk about this because he spearheaded most of it, but I shared some statistics, and, you know, I mean, I'll just share these with you and do what you will. I mean, they're modest, but we talked about what we had to be grateful for and encouraged by. We've experienced 57% growth in our church since the end of COVID. Okay? Well, Yeah, now you might say, well, I look around, I don't see like 500 people here. But know this, when we began to regather after COVID, our average attendance was somewhere around 70 people. And what are we now, a year and a half, 2 years later? Our average attendance the last few months has been around 120. And some of that is the result of new families that have joined us that are here regularly. But that's something to be encouraged by. Our attendance in Sunday school, this will really blow you away. I mean, when I came here in 2017, if we had 5 kids in Sunday school, some of you remember, that was, that was it. And I'm told, and I know people in ministry can exaggerate numbers. Sarah say no, I don't exaggerate. But we've had anywhere from 15 to 20 plus kids pretty regularly in Sunday school each week. So that's a wonderful thing. And I've heard from a lot of you that you love the fact that these kids are everywhere, running into you and tripping you. No, but I mean, I think we would all agree it's a wonderful thing. So that's a wonderful thing. Now here's the last one. The average age of our congregation. What? Does anybody remember what the average age of our congregation was 2 years ago? I don't know if we ever shared this. The average age of our congregation was 68. Right? Were you surprised it was that young? No, 68. Now, because of the influx of newer families, younger folks, the average age of our congregation has dipped. So we're not as old as we used to be. It's dipped by about 5 years. Okay, so you might say, well, it's still 63 years old, but hey, it's a good trend, right? Because I know many of you have prayed that we would see new folks, new people from our community, and all that kind of thing. And so I think we have a lot of reason to be grateful and excited and optimistic about the future. And, there were people who were kind of writing us off a few years ago saying, this church is not going to make it. And I think we're not only going to make it, we're thriving, and we're on a good trajectory. So thank you for your faithfulness in serving, in giving, in praying. It means a lot, and we're grateful for all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Kurt. I'm going to ask Pastor Pete to come up now.
There's a question.
Oh, there's a question. I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
I was wondering whether or not the concept of pastor emeritus is being considered. Whether for this parish or another parish. It's very common in other traditions that when a senior pastor reaches a point of transition, there's emeritus positions where they can bring a wealth of experience to a parish without necessarily making a full-time commitment to that parish.
Right, and I know that's been the case in a lot of other denominations. My understanding, at least in the Covenant Church, generally speaking, there has been a policy, if not an outright rule, of
Courteous finality.
Courteous finality. There's even a term for it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's really what it's called.
Yeah, no. I remember you telling me this, courteous finality. Because it can be tough on a new pastor coming in if you still have the old pastor around. Taking our individual...
You mean the more experienced pastor?
The old pastor around. Because, people look to the old pastor. Notice I keep using the term. And it's not fair to the newer pastor, generally speaking. So that's not something that we've really looked at.
I understand. When in Rome, do as the Romans. I get it.
I'm sorry?
I understand. When in Rome, do as the Romans.
Yes.
Other people do it, but we don't. I get it.
Are there questions for Kurt or any questions relating to Kurt's report? I'll turn it over to Pastor Pete.
The new pastor. Oh, good. I'm trying to keep focused, so I have a little slide here for you all. as Kurt mentioned about our 3-month transitional period, just wanted to touch base and kind of give my feedback and review on that as well. I did a lot of pastoral care, preaching, worship planning, and these extended roles felt really good to connect with the church family in that extended role as pastor, as Kurt was gone. And so really felt equipped and called and able in that role, and was really glad to be in that role for those 3 months, and excited for this transition, excited for the future and where we are headed as a church family. So really positive experience for myself, and to be in those roles during those 3 months. And also, there was a lot that happened too over those 3 months. Sarah came on board. We had a bunch of new members join the church, which was so wonderful. There was Lent and then prepping for Easter. So in the midst, it was funny because we kind of said, oh, January is kind of a low time in the church here, and then a lot of things happened, which was wonderful to step into that. But then one thing I wanted to share over those 3 months as I experienced the role, I want to first say thanks to the food pantry team, to our outreach team. I stepped back from a few roles there, and the team was really empowered to continue ministry. And a lot of things that happened over those 3 months. Dale and the new member support team, you guys are amazing. Oh my gosh, putting all these dates and calendars together to help move forward our new member process. My reflection over those 3 months was, we have a very generous church, not just financially, but serving with their time, with their talents, with their energy. And one thing that I see that was really important for those 3 months was that when I empowered different ministry areas, people stepped up to serve and fill in as I was stepping into other roles. And I see that as an important thing to focus on as we continue into ministry and continue into the future as our church is expanding and as things are happening. Just wanted to put that out to everyone. Empowerment of ministries and teams is something that I see was really valuable, and I'm so thankful of such a generous serving church, and I'm excited for the future. So that was a little bit of my review. A little team outreach report. We had a meeting early this year, and we're excited to expand our outreach a little bit this calendar year. And one thing that we're going to be doing over the summer is planning 3 invite events called The Lot. And The Lot is, we barricade the entrance to the parking lot, and it becomes a bike and rollerblade and skateboard hangout on a Saturday. And so we're just gonna, because kids are just like coming through the lot all week long. And so we're just gonna, the team outreach was like, how do we blow up our inflatable obstacle course more this year? And we're like, oh, let's do The Lot. And it's not a huge event like Defrost was. It's, we're gonna get that bounce house up, barricade, get some chalks to draw a racetrack around on the pavement, and get some snacks and some drinks, and then call it good. Get some music going. And so The Lot is coming, a little expanded outreach over the summer. And over the holiday season, we're going to be really intentional about our Christmas outreach. And we'll be updating you with some more plans about that, but really being intentional as a church during a holiday season to reach out. Once again, Defrost, thank you so much for your faithfulness in serving. Great to reach out to our community. And Northwest Compass has been plugging along. Our food pantry team is amazing. The team that has taken a little more responsibility as I have stepped out has been super helpful in keeping that ministry running. And I wanted to just say a special recognition to a few people. We had a team of people. Mount Prospect does I'm blanking on the name, post office food drive through the post office, and they get so much food on a Saturday. And the week of, I had forgotten that this was happening, and then the week of, Ed, he's the volunteer over at the food pantry, he's like, we need some extra labor for Saturday. We need tons of help. We just get flooded with food. And we had a great crew of people. We had Kurt Anderson, Jan was over there. We had Tom, you were there. Gail. I'm blanking on the other couple. Lynn, yes. Wonderful. Ed sent out the call, and this team of people showed up, these extra hands, and you were some of the only people during the day outside of their staff that helped show up. And just so the partnership we have with Northwest Compass, the faithfulness to serve our community with the love of Jesus, I want to give them a big special recognition. Thank you. The ministry that happens there and that goes out into our surrounding community, it's constant. People are in constant need, and so I'm just so proud of our church. Lastly, we have a church app, and some of you got the invitation to RSVP. Did you get that through the notification? Huh? Really cool. Okay. So everyone, I've been pushing this since early this year. What we're really trying to do is get everyone into our digital directory, okay? And what our digital directory will do is there's a lot of new faces and names. The digital directory will help learning all those new faces and names, and that goes both ways. So we actually had a great dinner party with some of our new families, and it was awesome. They're looking up your faces and names, and you're looking up their faces and names too. It's a great way to connect. I've heard a lot of good stories, even of just how, I needed someone's email. It was right in the app. I sent someone a text message. It was right in the app. You could find it right there. And here's some encouragement in the challenge, okay? This week, Monday, Newt Hallman just logged in to the digital directory. Okay? Give it up for Newt. Come on. You're looking for Newt's new phone number? It's in there. He's got a new number. So does Jackie Bell. It's in there. Okay? So this digital directory updates instantly. Okay? And the great thing about that, I was even talking with Cynthia Soderholm up at Covenant Living. One of my desires for this app, sorry I'm getting emotional about this, I don't know why. It's just an app. It's just an app. It hits me sometimes though, because community and connection is what it's really all about.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking of Newt. That's what I'm.
Yeah?
And just how we can reach out and connect and be the church family. Some people can't be here, but we can connect with people. And so, sign up for the church app, get in the directory. Yes.
So just so people know, it's up to them how much information.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's good. I'll give a little through my tears. So the great thing about this app is each person, we can't put your information in the app. You manage the security and privacy of your information. So if you don't want your address in there, you can take it out. If you don't want your phone number in there, you can take it out. If you just want to put your email in there, you get to list what information you want in the directory. And only the people that I send an invitation to have access to this digital directory. This is not like the World Wide Web. This is secure. You need to have a 2-step notification that gets sent to you. It's a secure login, and only the people that the gatekeeper gives access to have that.
It's a gatekeeper.
Myself. Yep. So I have the info there, and it's a very secure, and you can remove your info at any time. You can change your email. If you move, you can update that new cell phone. And so that's the, it's a great,
And if we don't like their picture, we can take that.
yeah. But the big thing about it is if you're in the directory, you may not have a profile picture up there yet. And you all are very beautiful people. Okay? And I know some of you say, oh, the camera just doesn't do me well. But you know what? The great thing is it's just pixels. You can delete it and take another photo until you get the right one. But please, please get your photo in there, because a name and a face goes a long way. Thank you. That's it. Maybe any questions?
No, just a comment. I know it's not uncommon
Yep.
to use a church directory as a prayer resource.
Yeah.
Because if one wants to be in prayer for a congregation, I know in the past, what I try to do, I like to take a page a day of an old church directory,
Sure.
and then I would pray it through, and that was a way of maintaining a prayer commitment to the broader parish.
That's wonderful.
Well, a lot of people do that.
Yep.
But my point is, this is an encouragement to me, because it creates a prayer opportunity
Yep.
where we can be sincerely praying for one another.
Thank you, Bill. That's a great encouragement. Yes, Susan.
Well, just now, I pulled out my phone and hit the church app, and all I got was our logo. And I don't know what to do with it.
I'll chat with you after this. Sometimes there's some troubleshooting that we just close it down, open it back up, and see if it goes, and if not, give me a call if you have these questions, because there are many questions. Sometimes it's a little challenging, and it's really worth it, so I want to invest and talk with you about all that.
I could turn my phone off and see if it's still.
Yeah, perfect. Any other things?
What is the church at?
All right.
And
Yes,
Pete,
Yeah.
thank you for all that you've done since Pastor Kurt was gone. You have done so much.
Thanks. And yeah, the directory is a great opportunity to connect, so I would encourage, if you have not already downloaded it, in your case, it may just need to be updated. I found that sometimes happens with various apps. If you haven't used it in a while, it may not be updating automatically, and then you just need to update it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew to provide us with an update.
Printing the minutes was not my responsibility. I just want that to be known. And also, Mike Nelson is really enjoying retirement. Went golfing with him on Monday, and let's just say he needs a lot of work. So he'll have some time to figure that out. But yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you, as always, for your support for our youth programs and our kids, and praying for our kids and supporting them. And right now, specifically, teenagers are going through a tough time. It's a hard time to be a teenager right now. A lot of identity issues, not feeling safe, not having good communities in their lives. So it's really, really important, the work that we do. And it's really, really important to provide kids with leaders and young adults and one another for support. So I just want to say thank you for all of your support and all your prayers and care for us and our youth ministry team. We had a really fun second half of the year. I'm proud to report that we brought all of our kids back from our winter retreats, so that's always the goal. So it was a great retreat season at Covenant Harbor and Covenant Point for our winter retreats, and as we moved into spring, we had a couple outreach events, Dodgeball Palooza, one of them, just a bunch of crazy things, and it was a blast to kind of finish up the year strong with our send-off. And now we're going to move into our summer programming, which kicks off tonight, which was mentioned during the service with Soap Hockey. And we'll be running programs through the summer on Sunday nights, as well as a young adult ministry that's coming back on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30. So that was a huge blessing in years past. I'm excited to get that going again as well. We have a couple different trips this summer. We have our Voyage Discipleship trip, which is for our upperclassmen. The hope is to go to the Ozarks in Missouri to bring some of our upperclassmen up there. And then for our other senior high trip, we're going to the Twin Cities to partner with an organization called Treehouse. They work with at-risk youth up there in the Twin Cities, so we're going to partner with 2 of their sites and do some work with them and do ministry with them and just get to know them. And then maybe a Mall of America trip too. So that will be the real challenge. If I bring all the kids back from Mall of America, that will be impressive. And then we have our island trip as well at the very end of the summer for our middle school kids. We're partnering with Winnetka Covenant Church this year, so both of our middle school groups are heading up to the island, and we're going to get dirty and go in the lake and all that stuff. So it's going to be great. And also, I'm proud to say that next summer, Unite is coming back. So aka Chick is coming back next summer. I'm not supposed to share this information, but I'm going to share it anyway because I like you. Next summer, they're going to be in 2 different locations, which is a little bit of a change from years past. But the idea surrounding that is, how can we take care of the churches that have bivocational youth workers? How can we take care of our city churches that don't have the resources? Well, we make travel a little bit more affordable, right? So we're going to 2 different sites, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast, and that will be in July for a week. So we're very excited to get that going again, which means silent auctions with Tom Child, pancake breakfasts, all that good stuff. So it'll be a really, really busy year for us. And yeah, we're excited about those things. I have a great team of volunteers and leaders that have stepped in and done wonderful things. Great interns. Kaya is sticking around for the summer to be our summer intern as she does some work at North Park as well. And so we're just very thankful for all of the prayers and support and help. And so we're excited for the summer and to have some fun and get these kids out of school because they're stressed enough and they need to have a little bit of fun. And before I call Nate up here, he's going to share a little bit of report on the middle school and some of the tech upgrades around church. Any questions you guys have? Yeah.
Just a follow-up on the young adult ministry that's starting. I have never seen Grace get so excited and bubbly about anything, but she is so thrilled that you're starting that ministry for young adults.
What's the cutoff age?
30. So sorry, you're.
Dan could be part of that.
Yeah. Hop in. Be blessed. Yes, Bob.
It's not a question, but I just want to say that your leadership of the singing this morning was very helpful, and we ought to do it more often.
Thank you. All right, partner in crime, get up here. It was also this man's birthday on Thursday, and he decided to run a marathon, so I have no idea.
Yep, like Drew mentioned, this summer we will be going to the island with Winnetka, and perhaps North Park Covenant will be joining us as well. It's been a tumultuous planning experience for that trip this summer. We like to partner with other churches, and we've had 2 churches join and then drop out with us. So Winnetka luckily has been consistent in their commitment, but we're looking to add another church, and we thought, let's reach out to North Park Covenant. So that's a little update on that. Just an update on the middle school group. We had a great year in terms of commitment and community, 2 of our main core values, spiritual growth as well. Our middle school group wasn't 25 kids. It was consistently 8 to 10 kids each week. It was 8 to 10 kids who really wanted to be there every Wednesday night and who really poured into each other and created a really sweet group. So it was just great to be part of. Our leaders were awesome. And I'm looking forward to next year. We're getting 6 to 10 fifth graders. I don't know how many there are at Kick. It feels like there's 30 of them. But I'm really excited for them to join us, and they are also invited on the island trip. And some of them are interested in going, so that'll be really fun. So yes, Next year's middle school group will be even bigger than this year's because we're only sending 2 or 3 to the senior high of our 8th graders. And then we have a big group of 5th graders joining in. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm just really excited where the middle school is in terms of giving the kids a place to come. We kind of called it the Island of Misfit Toys this year because not that our students are misfits in any way, but none of them really have like exactly the same interests. They aren't all the exact same person, but when they came to youth group, they all created the same cohesive community. So it was really fun and cool to see them do that. So I was really thankful for this year's ministry in that regard, and I'm looking forward to next year's. In terms of the tech upgrades and just continuation of serving our church in that way, our tech team is chugging along. We have 6 volunteers plus myself, who do the live stream and sound every Sunday morning. And I'm maybe looking to add a couple more to that as we have some of our high schoolers get older and prepare to graduate and move away. I like to add some younger students to that, or even some more adult volunteers to continue to bolster that team. And I've been really happy with the upgrades that we've made to that. Before we started to buy new equipment, we were having some issues week to week with certain pieces of equipment failing on us, and Tom. Certain pieces of equipment not failing, but just giving us issues and making it so that people at home weren't able to have a reliable streaming experience every week. And I just checked today, we've been 5 straight months of every Sunday our streams have been consistently going. So I know it makes it easier for you folks at home when that works every week, so I'm very happy with that. And I'm very happy to announce that the development fund project that was proposed by Jeff before I got here, has finally wrapped up and finished. I finished that this past spring. And I still have a couple of pieces of equipment to implement. But the good news with this whole project was the projected budget for this and the allocated budget was $30,350. And throughout the budget, we only spent $17,500. So we stayed $12,750 under budget for the whole budget. So yeah, a lot of hard work. I was able to do most of the work in-house without having to hire contractors. So that's where a lot of that savings came from. So yes, that extra money can be used for other things in the development fund as this project has closed. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited that it's over. Not that it wasn't a lot of fun to learn new things, but it was just a big looming thing over my head for the past couple of years. So I'm glad it's wrapped up and we have a good future. We put a lot of money into good equipment, new internet, new streaming equipment that should last us for years to come. So I'm very happy about that. And it makes it easy on our volunteers to execute a Sunday morning service, and then so that way it's easier for you all to watch a Sunday morning service. Any questions? Great. I will move on.
Thanks, Nate. And the volunteer program has been great for our kids. My younger son in particular has been doing this for quite some time now.
Yep.
It's been a great experience. He's really enjoyed doing it, and and want to thank both Nate and Drew for the work that they do in the youth program. It's been fantastic, and really look forward to hearing about the report the next time at our next quarterly meeting, which I think is August 28th. So.
Oh no, I won't be there. I took a second.
Took you long enough. And so I think most of you know that Nate is getting married. That is his wedding night. And we had a great shower here. It was just last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Time is totally getting away from me. Thanks to Christy Lundblad and the planning team on putting that together. It was great seeing all your friends there.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful. So thanks to Nate getting all this stuff done and all this work that he's doing in the midst of a lot of personal changes that are going on. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to hear from our newest staff person, Sarah. She's on her way up here. I do want to congratulate her again on her The next step's on her way to ordination. And she passed a big hurdle at the Central Conference meeting this year and looking at ordination this summer. So, welcome and thank you.
My ordination is on July 1st, so it's coming up when we're all together. First of all, thank you so much for the welcome that I've gotten here. Everybody's just been so gracious and so beautiful and so welcoming. So thank you for bringing me into this family. I've served in a few different settings, and there's something really beautiful and unique happening here with this community, so I'm just really excited to be a part of it. It's kind of come to my attention that people don't actually know my role, so I'll kind of start there. I am full-time staff. My title is Family Ministries, so I do Sunday school, kind of birth through 5th grade is my area of children, and then they go on to Nate, and then they go on to Drew. And Grace is still part of our staff. She, her passion point is kick. So she takes a lot of the lead on kick, and I'll be stepping more into that in the fall. But Sunday mornings, Sunday school curriculum, and then also expanding this to the families, because that's really what our discipleship walk is. When our children come here, they're in this building with us for an hour, and we can pour into them as an intergenerational community. That's something that's very important to me, is that they are in worship like they were this morning, and they're getting to know all of you, and you're getting to know all of them, so you can share your stories and your journey. But again, it's an hour a week, and our walk with Jesus is the rest of the week when we're living out our lives. So a lot of my passion and my call to ministry comes from equipping the families, and that's parents, that's grandparents, that's the family that you choose, your friends, and how can we send home devotions, how can we send home materials, how can we're changing it a little bit so that our kids are actually going to be learning and studying the same scriptures in Sunday school that we'll be studying up in the sanctuary. So how can we continue these conversations throughout the week when we're at home? Because we're all children of God, we're all on this walk together, and it doesn't just end in this building. So just a really quick overview of what we do downstairs. So it's broken out into the 3, so nursery and toddler, preschool and kindergarten. We're really focusing on how they're loved by God. God loves you for who you are. You come as you are. If you're having a wonky day, we all have wonky days, and you're angry, you know what? God loves you for who you are and how you are. Come be with us, and we'll talk about how God loves you and He's working. And then 1st through 3rd, you're known by God. This is when kids are starting to kind of figure out more who they are. God knows you. God created you this way. He sees you. He loves you for all of that. And then in 4th and 5th, you're empowered by God. This is when they're starting to step up into middle school in the next year. So how can they be the next generation of teachers? How can they empower the little? So it's really a community approach to Sunday school and discipling our children, and it comes from all of you. So I just appreciate being able to partner with all of you in this, and I hope that having the children and hearing them laugh and whatever noises they make during worship is actually that joyful noise that God invites us to make together. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I don't know if there's anything else for me to share. I was at Deer Grove, just how I got here. I was at Deer Grove for 5 years. I was a family pastor there, and then I did a lot of, during COVID, the preaching and the administration, and then I actually was just at a non-denominational church in Forest City, Elgin, before I came here, and now, yeah, I'm really excited to be part of this community. So, thank you all.
Actually, my question is to Peter.
Oh, okay.
I would suggest to the leadership team that it would have been helpful to have some kind of a job description for Sarah. She simply was announced one Sunday morning with no explanation, a little explanation as to what she would do. So a matter of transparency, I would suggest to the leadership team that they do provide a job description when a new staff person comes on.
Sure. Yeah, we do have a job description. We didn't share it widely. We can do that.
Number two.
Yeah.
It sounds to me a little bit like she's in a pastoral role, especially anticipating ordination. If that is the case, it requires congregational action. And I'm suggesting the council might want to consider that possibility if she is indeed in a pastoral role.
We have not hired her as pastor, we have hired her as a staff person, Director of Children and Family Ministries, and that is the role for her. We had actually originally brought her in, this all kind of came together fairly quickly, and that may be part of the reason, you know, why there may have been some lack of clarity about some of the roles and whatnot, and appreciate the feedback on that. She was actually going to be brought in just to preach for once a week, sort of a regular preacher, or I'm sorry, once a month. Yeah, my apologies. Once a month, well, especially while Pastor Kurt was away, just to provide some relief to Pastor P. Have somebody kind of on a regular basis, rather than just bring in a visiting pastor who doesn't really know us. Have somebody who does get to know us a little bit, just to come in and preach once a month. And then realize, you know what, we have a lot more kids here, and we need somebody with some real organizational background, with a real passion for children and family ministries. And she was transitioning out from her last job, and said, this is a great opportunity. Somebody who really knows what they're doing. We already have her coming in to help out once a month. Let's see if we can't bring her on as Director of Children and Family Ministries. And Pastor Pete really, as he noted, this all came together during the planned transition time, for lack of a better term. And so it really took the lead on the negotiations, the back and forth, and then closing things out and bringing her on board. So if we ever did get to the point where we're bringing another pastor on in a pastoral role, and this is now ever, and this actually goes for Pastor Pete too, and should emphasize this, we will have to go through, should go through a pastoral call process.
Yeah.
Completely agree, no argument on that. I mean, the bylaws are very clear on that. And secondly, just from a moral standpoint, that's something that we have to do if we are going to bring somebody on as a pastoral role. But she's a staff person. It's a staff role. Yeah. I mean, we've had other people that have been licensed or have been ordained even in the past, and we haven't called them because they've been brought in as staff, not pastors. Does that answer? Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. With that, Pastor Pete is going to talk about the Central Conference meeting, which he attended in April.
Yes. I have another slide. I'm trying to stick to it. So yeah, we were up, Sarah, Drew, and myself, as delegates up to the Central Conference annual meeting in the UP, and we had our good fill of pasties, and that's my first pasty I've ever had. But the Central Conference, there's 5 states, if you didn't know. So in the Covenant Church, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, and Missouri make up the Central Conference. And so pastors and churches gather once a year, and it was hosted up in Gladstone. And some of the highlights of that, there were 6 people within the Central Conference that just got affirmed for ordination. Sarah Winter is one of them in our midst. And then the next step for them, as Sarah mentioned, is July 1st is the ordination ceremony where all people who are getting ordained are then ordained at Gather, which is the denominational annual meeting that'll be out in California. So we are so excited for you, Sarah, and for the other ordinands too. There was some real positive report from the Central Conference about our Central Conference finances. The Central Conference finances haven't always had a positive side to them, but there's a very positive report this year. I have all this information too in a booklet, so if you're interested in more of it, I'm just going briefly over it today. But Northwest Cov is a top giver also in our conference. I think we're kind of up in the top 6 of faithfully giving. Some also exciting news, there were 4 church planters that are currently planting churches in the Central Conference, and there are 4 churches that have just joined officially the Covenant Church. And Uptown Covenant, which is a church that we've supported in the past, Pastor Jeremy Falk just joined the Covenant officially, and so there's a lot of movement, a lot of church plants, a lot of excitement there. And kind of on a sadder and sober note, there were 2 churches that have closed over the last year. That's Atonement Covenant and Grace Covenant in Chicago. These have been some foundational kind of established churches in the Covenant and just couldn't make it through COVID. And so we had a service of lament, giving thanks to all the great ministry that was done there, but then also just acknowledging the sadness and grieving those losses of those churches. Harbor Point, they have a impact report. I have this in my office. A lot of good info on Covenant Point and Covenant Harbor and all the ministry that they're doing. If you'd like to see that, that's in my office. And then what was really great too, these 2 breakout learning sessions. They had different learning sessions that you could go to. Each churches and pastors and leaders, you could pick a different session. And what I thought was so wonderful is this session, Moving Mission Forward, and then there was another one called Children in Worship. And it was very striking because this conference happened right before our ministry team retreat happened. And what's going on in the life of our church, all of these stars kind of like aligned together. And there were a lot of these great themes from the conference and our ministry team retreat and what's happening in our church. And a big part of Moving Mission Forward was about cultivating community, about post-COVID church life. What does that look like? And a lot of what the Central Conference in that workshop, it was all about cultivating community. It was about relationships, about the family of God, about seeing people, hearing people, journeying with people, praying for people, about coming together as the body of Christ. And then another, as Kurt was talking about our average age dropping and children in worship and how we just hired Sarah on board for our current church and some of what we're talking about there and what I'll talk a little bit later about our ministry retreat is intergenerational church ministry and having children be a part of the church body now, not just siloed over here to the right, but a part of the body of Christ and the family of God. And that was a really wonderful session and just fitting for our church community and where we're at. And so this is just a brief update. As we were there as delegates, just wanted to share a little of what was talked about there to give you a little report. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Thanks, Pastor Pete. And thanks to the other delegates who were able to attend at the Central Conference meeting as well. It's noted on the agenda, just again, reiterating some of the staffing changes, but I also want to take the opportunity to again thank all of our staff. We have a fantastic team here. You know, as this was noted, I think it was Sarah who said it, you know, starting off with the children and families, and then going to Nate with middle school, and Drew with the high school, and our pastors, and then staff such as Dawn, who does an enormous amount of work behind the scenes, administratively, making sure everything stays on track, and other staff people, part-time folks such as Grace and others who've do all the work that makes this happen. I mean, we've got some great opportunities here. We have some real momentum, and I think we've got the right team in place to take advantage of that. And just want to, again, thank all of the staff people who are working here. As noted also, Mike has retired. I also want to extend my thanks to Mike for the many years of service, as well as the choir. And looking forward to the opportunities that we do have, as Kurt laid out, for taking advantage of the skill sets that we do have in the church for singing, and maybe on a more seasonal basis for some of this. As also noted, we did have that 2.5 month, what was it, about 2.5 months ago? Yeah, earlier this year, where Pastor Kurt was gone and Pastor Pete stepped up and talked about taking the lead on some of the administrative things. And I won't go back over all the various things that Kurt talked about and he talked about. But we did have discussions with the leadership team talking about during this time period, and thoughts for going forward, and asked Pastor Pete, do you still want to do this? And I mean, it's a question that we do want to ask. It was meant to be both sides, and I received positive responses, but we still want to hear from all of you as we continue forward here. My contact information is in the directory. I had my phone here, is in the directory, and I encourage you to reach out if you do have thoughts on this or anything else. I would also note, when we do have our leadership team meetings, which are generally the second Thursday of every month, there's always time set aside for any member of the congregation that shows up for the leadership team meetings to share information, their thoughts, ask questions. We generally don't have anybody that comes, but we do set aside that time. So if there is an issue that you'd like to discuss, please don't hesitate to come to the meetings, but also just reach out to us. Just a reminder, leadership team, it's myself, Christy Child, Christy Youngblood, Kurt Anderson, and Sylvia Falk. And any of us would be happy to talk with any of you. We are you, so it's just reach out, sit down with us, happy to talk further. And as we go through this thoughtful transition over the coming year, we are going to be talking about staffing and support, and just fundamentally, are we still moving forward with this? There will be decision points. If we decide to go forward with this, pastor people need to be called. There will have to be votes. In other words, there will be additional check-in times. This is not a done deal. Certain steps have to be followed if we continue to go down this path. So look forward to continuing the discussions there. Those are the highlights. Are there any questions or comments that people may have? One thing that I should have also noted is that Sarah is being covered through funds from the Development Fund. Jim will touch a bit about that later on. But that's part of the overall transition going on here as well. Next item is the ministry team retreat recap. So Pete, you're up again.
My theme is these slides so I can stick to them so I don't track into the wilderness. So yes, we had a great ministry team retreat at North Park on May 6th. And as we talked about this at staff and we're planning the retreat, we were thinking, okay, let's figure out and try to communicate to our ministry teams where we are as a church. And where we are as a church highlighted a priority for us, and it also gives us an identity for the season and place where we are. And that is these 3 C's that I'm going to explain to us today. Just wanted to give you a little recap because this ministry retreat kind of cast a vision for the next year, this upcoming fall and into the spring of our ministries and where we're heading as a church, to kind of cast a little vision for all of our ministry teams to grab onto, to really say, yes, this is where we are, and because we're here, this is what we're going to highlight as some key priorities, and then we have an identity that we can grab onto for the journey ahead. And so as Kurt was saying a little bit about our numbers, about how we have these new families that are coming in. Our average age is getting younger. Convergence is where we're at. Two groups coming from different directions. A new pocket of new church families and an established church coming together as one. This is the season where we are, and convergence is really exciting. There's some dancing that's happening. There's some learning new names and faces and hearing stories. There's also some challenges that can come with that. There's some give and take. There's some listening. There's some sharing of spaces. Convergence is a blessing and a wonderful place to be. And so one thing that we wanted to highlight within convergence, this is where we are as a church, one of the things that is like a no-brainer light bulb, highest priority for us is community. Community is a priority for our church in this season of life. And so one of the things we looked into as we were talking through this retreat was this book called Growing Young. And a lot of the research, this comes out of Fuller Youth Institute, a lot of the research within this book really talks about cultivating a warm community, really being a welcoming place, a place of belonging, a safe space where people can connect and have relationships, and from that point, go deeper in life and faith with one another. Just bouncing back to our Central Conference retreat up in Michigan, there were some missionaries in France who were talking about community, and it just resonated with everything that we were talking about, and a lot of the research that comes out of Growing Young. And one of their kind of philosophies and catch lines that they were talking about in France was this. It goes, belonging before belief. And people sometimes just need a place to belong, and then they'll catch on to that faith. They'll catch that belief. If you imagine it like this, if you have a trusted relationship with someone, you're going to be able to go a little bit deeper with them, right? It's hard to dive deep. It's hard to get that life and that faith without that relationship. And so one of the things that we're talking about in our church as we move forward is community and developing that. And collaborators is the identity. Collaboration, as we move forward, as we share spaces, as we come together, as we learn stories, as we learn gifts, collaboration, working together, that's really what convergence is all about. That's really what community is all about. It's seeing the body of Christ and working together. I wanted to just see, I've been up here talking a lot. I am going to put you on the spot, Dale. Could you share what you shared at the ministry team retreat about collaboration? Because I don't know if everyone knows about it, and it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about as we move forward.
There are 2 times of the year during Advent and during Lent where the diaconate tries to remember some folks in our membership that we absolutely want to make sure that we don't forget. Quite often you don't see them because they are not able to attend. And Lent is, the Advent is usually poinsettia plants, but they're getting more expensive, by the way. But then we got into Lent, we wanted to do something different, and I think it was Bobby Jackson who said, well, you know, all of these folks, they used to have kids, and those kids would bring home little art projects around the time of Easter. So why don't we have our young people in KIC create some of these art projects, and the members of the diaconate would deliver them to these folks, and hopefully it would help them remember years ago when their young children would bring them art projects. So that's exactly what we did. Kay was very helpful in, Grace was very helpful in pulling that off on Wednesday nights. There's evidently some kids who don't necessarily want to play games, but they love to do craft things. And so we generated about 30 different crafts, and we passed them out. And I remember one visit I had here with Arnie Nelson, and I brought him this little flower with the little coat hangers that was the vine or the stalk that the flower was on, and he looked at it and he says, I'm really thankful that the church remembers us, especially since we cannot attend. So it was, and we have some new ideas for next year, which we can embellish. So we'll be coming back to the young people and asking them to help us again.
And that is incorporating children within the larger body. That's collaboration and community. See, it all is wrapped in the same package. And so working together as the body of Christ to serve God, serve the church, and serve the world. And so that's where we're heading forward. And what I wanted to say is goals. At the end of the retreat, we gave everyone the challenge. And what I'm going to do is just leave you with this. Goals. What are the goals personally for you? Personally for you, how might you take up this idea and vision to invest into community? What would it look like for you to make community and building relationships a priority within this next ministry year? So that's your first goal. And then ministry team areas. Many of the ministry team leaders were there. Not every person on a ministry team was able to come. But if you are on a ministry team, or you know our ministry teams, what are some ways that each ministry team can invest into community? And also, how might the ministry teams collaborate with one another? Like Dale, the diaconate, and the children's ministry. There was a collaboration there. What would it look like for the finance team and the high schoolers to collaborate? What would that look like? But it's a beautiful thing, because these are gifts and wisdom to unleash for the church. And what would that look like? So just to dream and to put some things out there, we're going to be following up with you on your personal goals and on the ministry team goals. And at our August business meeting, as we're kicking off the fall, we're going to be coming together as ministry teams and really moving into the fall with some of these goals in mind, and really putting out a church calendar for some of these ideas about community. Because at my next slide, if you would quick, because all church goals, we got, I know, there's a lot. This is great though. All church goals, we gave out pink Post-it notes at the retreat, and all but 3 were about community. All church goals, we said, what's our all church goal? And so I digested those, and all but 3 said, celebrate the church. More casual social gatherings, summer activities, fun moments just to hang out, entire church fellowship, events, Bunko Night, the Amazing Race, Road Rally, Western Hoedhounds, intergenerational events, interaction with interest groups, social groups by age, feel included, pursue social and racial justice. This is community. You see that? All church goals, what we discussed during that ministry retreat, and what we're thinking of as all church events is about building community. And so we're really gonna, we polled everyone there, and this is something that we really want to invest into over this next calendar year. It's something that post-COVID, relationships and connection and community are super important right now and a top priority. So we're going to invest there. So be thinking about your personal goals, ministry team goals, and these all church goals of developing community and investing in community. The last thing, next slide please. There's 2 new ministry teams that are in the works developing. Kim Johnson and Kirk Johnson. We're starting to develop a hospitality team and a welcome team to welcome people who are new to Northwest for the first time, to help with welcome table, meet and greet Sundays, connection, and follow-up. So those are a few things in the work that have come out from our ministry team retreat. And the last thing I want to say is we have a lot of these books. There's 4 of them on this table over here, and there are about 20 more upstairs because not everyone on our ministry teams was able to attend. So if you weren't able to attend the retreat and you want one of these books, we're going to be reading this and going through it as a church, so come pick one up at the table, or if they're out there, come up to my office. I have a bunch, and if we're out and you want one, we will order one for you. Thank you. Any questions there?
Can I just borrow one?
Yeah, you can borrow one.
You can keep it, but
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Okay. If we all read the book, the average age of our congregation will go down even further.
There you go.
You're next up on the agenda.
Oh, am I? Here I am. Oh yeah, fun event.
Can we take some years off our own?
Planned event coming up.
Right.
I meet with a group of pastors at Northbrook Covenant Church once a month. And one thing that we discussed as a group of pastors in Northwest Chicago is a district joint worship service. And so there are about seven plus churches. There's at least 7 that will be gathering together for a joint worship service, which is our district, Northwest Chicago. And we're going to be gathering July 23rd. We will start there, that's a Sunday. We'll start there at lunch with noon, and then we will have a worship service on their lawn out back at 2 p.m. And that will be a wonderful opportunity to get to know our church family in the area. We're not alone, we're in this together, and a great opportunity to meet some new friends and to worship together. Libertyville Covenant Church. We'll post more info on that, but those are the times and date for that.
Pete, can
Yes?
you confirm, do we have worship here then this morning, or that morning?
No,
No, okay.
this
so
will
no
be the worship.
here.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yep.
Put that in your calendar.
And our superintendent, Danny Martinez, he will be preaching at the joint worship. So he'll be there. And then a worship team from Palatine, New Life worship team, will be leading us in worship there. Great group. And it'll be potluck style. A lot of great different dishes coming around. So, thank you.
Thanks, Pete. We're now going to have Sylvia, our new finance chair, talking about our finances. So,
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to be here. It's my privilege and honor. And I wanted to just start off with, did everyone maybe possibly receive the handouts? They're pretty self-explanatory, but of course I'm going to hit some highlights. there was a financial secretary report and just a little bar graph report to kind of put into pictorial terms where we're at, where we need to be, where we come from. So if you haven't received one, we have extras. I also note that I do see on the agenda number 6. So I'm going to try to make this quick because A, it's numbers. And a lot of people's eyes just gloss over when they hear numbers. But also saying that, I'm going to mention that somewhat I'm just going to say right now is kind of like a roller coaster. Okay. Nobody liked that except Pastor? I'm trying to be humorous. Thank you. Well, and the reason I bring that up like that is, okay, to start off, year to date, our spending has been $47,000 in excess. So we're at the low point, we're at the bottom of the roller coaster. So everybody is sad, and we're like, oh no, I won't go on. Comedian is not my. But anyway, so that's the not so good news. But so we've spent right now in excess $47,000 since the beginning of the year. The good news, though, and that's where we're at the top of the roller coaster, is May, our latest giving month, has been the strongest month year to date, with over $47,000 in giving. To make our budget of $555,000 for the year, in numbers, we would have to at least receive $46,250 a month. And obviously, May beat it. Yay, we're at the top. But there were a couple months there in the beginning of the year, and it's not unusual that the beginning of the month, after year end, the numbers are a little lower. You'll see that first month out of the gate, January, the giving was $26,000 for that month. All right, so right there we're 20,000 below where we need to be. All right, so going back to my now we're down at the bottom of the roller coaster again, because to make budget and giving with the rate that we are giving at this point in time, we're going to be short $75,000 at year end. But now here the good news. In 2022, the last 7 months of the year, and that's where we're at now, because we've just finished 5 months, we picked up $340,000, or 62%, what we needed. So obviously, that's the great news is we have 7 months to go. Pastor. So we have 7 months to go, and we can do this. And I wanted, in my notes here that I wrote, I said, I wanted to say thank you for your continued giving. It is greatly appreciated and obviously needed. I wanted just to point out 2 other things. The finance, we added on Bruce Hackett to our team, the finance team this year. So we are now known as the Finance and Properties team. So we've always had a role with the properties, obviously. Now it's kind of official. I also wanted to say thank you to my fellow finance team members, because they're awesome to work with, and I wouldn't be standing here. I think Roger said, hey, so if you want, I can do this. And I said, no, I got it. But I want to thank Roger and Dawn and Carla and Bruce. And behind the scene, our counters. There's so much that goes into finance. And while I'm making it seem, roller coaster, it is a serious topic. But you all are very generous and thoughtful and caring. And so I want to say thank you on that. Really quick, the annual report has been accepted. I know we have published last year's numbers, but we have received from the accounting group that we use an approval. We are in conformity with accounting principles. So that's great news. I think that is maybe all I have right now. Any questions? Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
And I do want to reiterate, again, thank you for all those who give. You've heard all the work that's going on. I mean, there is a tremendous amount that's going on in our church. And through the various programs, through the volunteer opportunities, through the staffing, all of that. And that is where your funding goes to. And so thank you for all of your faithful giving. And we ask that you continue to faithfully give through the end of the year and pump it up a little bit. That would be great as well for the reasons we've heard and encourage those. We just encourage overall giving. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim, our new chair of the Development Fund, to provide some updates.
All right, thank you. First of all, I just want to say, you guys are, all of us, we're so lucky to have Sylvia in that role. So you nailed it, Sylvia, nice job. Secondly, you probably all know that, the Development Fund Committee is probably synonymous with Verge Applequist. So he basically helped develop the policies and has been leading the committee ever since. So this is the first time anyone other than Verge has ever reported on the Development Fund Committee activity. So again, like Sylvia, I'm honored, happy to be in this role for you. Now, what I do want to say is there hasn't been a whole lot of activity since Verge left the role. So there's not a whole lot for me to report, but I do have a couple of things I do want to share with you. First being just sort of a reminder of kind of what the role of the Development Fund Committee is. So I mentioned the policies and procedures that we all approved as a congregation, which sort of guide how we make decisions about funding project requests that come that come to the Development Fund Committee. So our role primarily is just making sure that those project requests fit within the guidelines that we as a congregation approved. And then from our committee, then it goes to the leadership team for final approval of those disbursement of those funds. So I just, again, wanted to remind you of what our role is and then talk to you about basically just the minimal activity that we have had this year. We met, normally the committee has been set up in recent years to meet twice a year, once in the spring and again in the fall to consider whatever projects have come forward. We set up a meeting early in the year, in February, at the request of the leadership team to consider a proposal that had come in and was of some urgency from a time standpoint and was a real opportunistic sort of project. And I think you've heard a lot about it today. It was the position that Sarah Winters now fills, the Director of Family Ministries. So we met in February to consider that proposal. We as a group reviewed it against the guidelines. And just in short, the guidelines do stipulate certain dollar amounts for new projects. They stipulate certain dollar amounts that are available on an annual basis and on a total project basis. And this project fit within that. And so we certainly approved it and moved it forward to the leadership team. The reason I'm kind of talking about this is there has been some concern raised after we approved that project that it didn't necessarily fit within the guidelines. So I wanted to be 100% transparent with you all about that. I think the issue that is maybe in question is new project versus a project. So we looked at this as a new project, and again, it fit within the confines of the policy. But again, this is just out of complete transparency. I wanted you to be aware that there was some concern that this was, the issue was raised whether or not this should be considered new. The only difference I would say is that if something doesn't conform to the policy, then we as a development fund committee can't necessarily approve it. It would require congregational approval. So that said, we did move it forward. Obviously, you've heard a lot about the role. It's a critical role, certainly timely, and it was an opportunistic thing and critical for our youth, our family programs going forward. So that, I think, is all I'll say on that. The only other action that we as a committee took, and Nate talked about this a little bit, and my kudos to Nate on the AV and the tech booth. That project was approved last year, so we formally sort of allowed the funds to carry over into this year so that they could, the project could be completed. And again, that was great work. Nate mentioned that it came in well under what was budgeted, so funds to allocate for other projects as they come forward. Now, I mentioned that we normally meet in the spring and the fall. We didn't meet in the spring because we actually had it scheduled, but we didn't have any proposals that came forward at that time. We are anticipating some to come. So we don't have our next meeting scheduled, but we're flexible. You know, we're gonna wait until some projects come forward, which again, we are anticipating, and then we'll meet and decide on those at that time. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
What is the current, I know, funds are committed down the road, but what is the current balance in the development fund?
You know, I don't have it. Sylvia might have it right in front of her. I want to say it's probably about $1.2 million. But what I would say, you mentioned, commitments. So a lot of our projects do have commitments that go out for a number of years. And I would say that the balance less the commitments that are already in place probably have us around $600,000. So that's kind of the amount that's remaining in the development fund that's available to fund new projects. Okay, well, if there are no other questions about the development fund, I think. Pete?
And thank you, Jim, for stepping into that role. As noted, Verge had gotten this up and going, and so this is the first new chair, and it's been relatively quiet. Part of that is, as many of you know, the guidelines talk about 3-year limitations on project. Oh, wait, apparently there's one more thing here.
No, I just say the balance is $1 million.
Oh, balance is $1 million. The guidelines and policies have a limitation of 3 years on projects. So like Joel Delp put in proposals for the first 3 years, and then he was limited, prohibited from putting in proposals thereafter. And that's been true of a number of the folks that we've supported in the past. But we're always looking for new projects. This is money to be used. It's been used extremely well. We feel like it's been very productive. It has made a real impact where the money has been spent, and would like to continue to do so. So the next item on the agenda is the denominational annual meeting, which is going to be taking place in late June through early July in Orange County, California. Just noting this as much as anything. I understand that there will be some organizational issues that will be discussed, but it's mostly just, high-level organizational, some reorganizing. Is there something that you want to go?
Just have a few.
Okay, Pastor Pete just wanted to mention a few things here about the upcoming denominational meeting.
I wanted to just pull up a few things. This is just a fraction of what I received in the mail right here. And I'm not going to go over this. This is more just for your information. It's been a big day, big meeting, but there are a few highlights. So these are highlights for informational purposes. We're not going to get real deep into this, but I'm gonna get you digital copies of these because this is a forest of trees right here. But if you're looking to get some more information, if you want to talk in depth further, we have a month before this, and there'll be some great conversations, but just wanted to share this for informational purposes today so we can just share with you what's going to happen at the annual meeting. And so there are a few key highlights here. One goes with this resource paper that has just been developed, drafted, and written by the Covenant Church. And as you know, there's been a lot of tension regarding human sexuality and conversations regarding that within the Covenant denomination. And so there's this great resource paper called Freedom and Unity and Responsibility in Covenant Life and Mission. And this is a great drafted paper. It addresses some important things moving forward as a denomination. And there's some real challenges going on in the Covenant Church. And two of these, one of the items on the agenda will be the involuntary removal of 2 Covenant churches, Awaken in Minneapolis and Quest Church Seattle. This one is actually, I can't find a lot of information on this. This has more of some timeline stuff, but this is kind of a drafted thing, so I'm still working on getting some more information regarding these situations, but it does revolve around the topic of human sexuality, and so there'll be some conversation during the annual meeting about that, and some votes on these 2 churches, and then it's this Covenant resource paper is kind of in connection with that. We're trying to move forward together as a church family, and there's a lot of challenges and difficulties with that, and so really just to gather together in prayer. This resource paper is a really great posture as we move forward together, so I will get you some more information about this resource paper and some more information about that in a digital format because I can't read through this all right now. It's just too much. The second thing, if you go to the next slide, Drew, real quick, President Tammy is doing a little reorganization, and there's another 20-page document about all the bylaw changes to get us to this point, but this really kind of streamlines ministry, and instead of having a ton of different areas, this kind of condenses things. And so this is a picture. These blue triangles are new positions that are being developed, and these red ones are ones that are elected. And this is something that is changing denominationally, structural-wise within leadership. And I'm still, you need a master's degree. I can't read this.
Bob Larson can explain all that.
Bob, you can come up and get us through this. But this is where it's at, and that's what I'm presenting, and this is a nice picture. But there's some real changes in the leadership and the organization and structure, and that's an important thing as the church moves forward. And one of the things that I did, I'm joking, I did understand this portion of it. But what it really does is it really empowers ministry and streamlines communication within those ministries. And so that's the big takeaway from this. So there's some organization things changing. Back to that last slide, Drew. We're almost there. Drum roll. Ordination service. I keep coming back to this because it was at the Central Conference. It's coming up. Sarah's in our midst. And there's so much that's happening within the Covenant denomination. And one of the great things, and what a blessing it is, we have to get this link to this service to all of you, because it's such a wonderful thing to see people ordained to ministry, and such a blessing in seeing God work and call people into ministry. There's a lot of challenges that the church is facing right now, post-COVID, and a lot of things happening in our world. And this service of ordination is really powerful. Just seeing how God is calling people, equipping people, and sending people into ministry in this world for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so I just wanted to end there with the ordination service, as that is coming up at the end of this month. And so we've got this month to debrief anything, if anything pops up. Well, I just wanted to quickly note, there's a way to be a delegate to the meeting, and it's a virtual delegate. So you can see the whole meeting. You don't have to go out to California. We're still looking for 2 to 3 more delegates to represent Northwest Covenant at this. So if you are interested, talk to Pete about that. Thank you.
It'll be live streamed too.
Live stream, yes. Yes, Bob.
You mentioned that 2 churches would be removed. Do you have any idea how many new churches will be joining the denomination?
That is in here. Yes, I don't have that in these. There are many. There were 4 alone from the Central Conference. I don't know the numbers on the top of my head. Thanks for that though, Bob. I can get you that. Any other questions?
My reason for asking it is an obvious bias, but I think we'll have to understand that in spite of the difficulties, we are growing as a denomination in multicultural ministry.
Yes. Thank you. Scott?
I just wanted to make a comment. I can do it now or wait until the very end.
Sounds good.
All right. I just wanted to thank everybody for the prayers. I want to take advantage of the size group here. Appreciate it. I'm not going to say I'm cancer-free. They haven't used that word with me yet. However, things have gone very well. I feel good. Downside to the whole thing is I have diabetes. I wear one of these things. You've seen that advertised. Or if you see Nancy doing one of these on me, check my blood sugar. So, Nancy's been my chauffeur, my nurse, my everything. You know, she's taken over everything for me, so, which I really appreciate. And I'm just going to show you too. Some of you have seen this. This is my grandson gave this. He goes to a Catholic school. He's in 2nd grade or something. So the day after my surgery, my son-in-law came to the hospital to see me, and I had a tumor removed up here, if you didn't know, up in my head, the size of a golf ball. They kept on saying it was huge. I finally said, what's huge? And they said, size of a golf ball. So my son-in-law brought this and said, Liam wants you to have this. And turns out that his teacher would ask every day, is there anybody that needs prayer? And he probably would have been in either preschool or kindergarten, one of the 2. And it says my grandpa. So the teacher gave this to him and said, give this to your grandpa. I've carried this everywhere. All my MRIs, the CT scans, PET scans, whatever I've had done. You're not supposed to have anything in your pockets, but I show this to him. Well, I show it to him. You know, I ask him, is it okay? Now, I've been, the 2 hospitals that I've been going to, I mean, it's one, it's a Catholic hospital. I'm trying to think what it is called, Ascension now, where I had the surgery. I never had anybody turn me down or give me a hard time. So, went to take out Arnie Nelson for breakfast with 3 other members of our church here. Alan Barrington, and I was showing him because I wasn't sure if I had shown it to him yet. I went to the bathroom, came back, and the woman sitting at the table next to me holding her cross. She was fighting cancer as well, you know, and she told me how she'd get her MRI with the cross between her hands each time, you know. And as Pastor Kurt did, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2 or 3 on prayer. The prayer makes a difference, is that what the saying was? I don't remember, I always mess that up, but right on the bolt it was prayer. Oh, prayer changes everything, maybe. And Nancy actually had taped just that part of the bolt, and she said had some extras around the house in different areas, and they're still up. You know, because at that time our daughter went through life-threatening illness and problems at that point, you know. And I'll say one thing, Pastor's been great about getting it, you know, as soon as I called him, I think I come on the middle of the night when my daughter was struggling, and my son-in-law, the Chicago cop, called us in tears telling us that, you know, it was a life-threatening situation, you know. And, I know everybody prayed back then, and she made it through. She's fine now. She's not having any issues to speak of that we know of anyway.
So we both wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you, Scott. So with that, you've heard a lot of reports today. It's been I appreciate everybody sticking around for all of this, but you know, there's a lot going on, and a lot that is being planned, and I'm excited. There's great things behind us, great things in front of us. So thank you all very much. Is there any other business that anybody would like to raise? Yes.
Brief announcement.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is for the women of the church. When we were talking about Central Conference, it made me think about retreat. Last year's retreat in Covenant Harbor, the women's ministry of the Central Conference, only 3 people from our church were there. I was blessed to be asked to be in the worship team, playing my bass. Last year, I was just out of the blue. I haven't picked it up in years. But another one is coming up in September, 3rd weekend, I believe, of September. And I would encourage the women of this church to attend. It's always been a time of refreshment for me. Even when I had little kids, I didn't go one year, and my husband said, "Why didn't you go to retreat?" I said, "I had little kids." I got it. So, yeah, and I seemed to love my kids more when I came back. Because I got away from them for just a little while. So, I really would love to see more women up there. And people who have trouble getting around, they do have carts going all over the place with everything. So, thank you.
Is there anything else? Okay, well then we will adjourn. And again, thank you. And we'll be sending out a note as noted. The next meeting is quarterly meeting is in August. I don't recall the exact date offhand.
It's not the 28th.
What?
It's not the 28th.
It's not the 28th. Because I know several people will be at a wedding. So thank you all very much for sticking around.
Thank you.